everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Geek Coast channel. I am your host, the Wizard and Demigod David, and I hope you're all doing fantastic, wherever you are in this universe. So, this is going to be the standard structure of each of the episodes of this channel. So, originally my thoughts was I can do a part A video, which will be the spoiler-free part, and then later on, put out a part B will be the spoiler part. But instead, I'm just going to do first half spoiler-free, second half of the video, spoiler. So, that's what's going to be for now. May change it, may not, depends. Let me know in the comment section. And also, honestly, I do value your opinions, but in the end, it's my decisions. I'm the Wizard Demigod. You guys are just mere mortal. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Seriously, though, let me know what your thoughts are of how should I do this. I will read through them, and I will take them consideration and stuff like that. But anywho, let's start the show. So this will be about the Netflix series Lost in Space. So this show has been out for a bit, so I may put out spoilers here and there, but also at the same time, you know, the show's been out. So if I accidentally spoiler some things before the spoiler section of the video, I'm sorry, but you know, the show's been out. But also the third season, which is the final season, which could be spoiler warning also for that, but still, regardless of that, that came out like I think right around December 1st. So it's been out for a little bit. But anywho, I will try my best. So Lost in Space, which has been done 2 to 3, well, actually, no, this will be the third time, if I'm not mistaken, has been redone 3 times. And the first time, which was, you know, the original series, which I want to say came out in the 60s or 70s, not 100% sure. Pretty sure someone in the comment section will let me know when it came out. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll probably look it up. I'm like, all right, whatever. You're right, or you could be wrong. Who knows? And then later on in around the 90s, they did a rebooted movie, which was very interesting, very cool. But, you know, most 90s movies back in those days were either mainly some hits, mainly some misses. So it was interesting, but also at the same time, a very interesting take on it. But the Netflix series one is actually a good reboot that they did, which lasts, again, 3 seasons. It was kind of cool. So basically, the synopsis of the show, humanity screwed the Earth up pretty badly. Either through greed, power, money, whatever it is, we screwed it up. And we found a way to reach another Earth-like planet, which is Alpha Centauri. And we managed to get away to basically fold space or travel through the speed of light to reach that planet. So the way to get to that planet or get at least onto the ship is you have to do a lottery system. And that lottery system is basically you could be lucky to get in or you just happen to know the right people. And also after you get picked, there's tests you have to take in order to get onto the ship. And you have to do these things to make sure that you are prepared to travel through space to do these things. So I thought that was really cool. To me, it felt kind of like, you know, I could see this happen not in our lifetime, but, you know, within our timeline, maybe, or in real life. So it was kind of interesting to see that. But yeah, so it was really cool. So we, of course, follow the Robinson family, and the Robinson family, you know, are the hero family. Like in the movie and the old TV show, and this one, that's who they are. They're the heroes of the show. And they're a family that is basically, they know what they're talking about. They have the education through, like, you know, science, space, physics, mathematics. They're basically the brains of everything. And it's kind of cool, like, especially in season 1, where, you know, how they figure out each of the problems was really awesome. Even the father, which is who's basically like a soldier or marine guy, but you know his knowledge actually still helps the family in general, and I thought that was really cool. The first season to me was definitely the best season. And also the things that are pretty cool or interesting that they did, or at least little twists they did in this show, is that, you know, The robot, they did a big twist, and also Dr. Smith was one of the big twists, and also probably one of the best parts of the show, in my opinion. I really like how they did Dr. Smith, which we'll talk about all those things in the spoiler part of the episode. Don West, which another guy, which I kind of forgot about. That character was part of the original show, and Don West was like, the comedic guy, and there were some very funny parts, but also he had a good story arc with himself of like being this comedic guy or guy that brings out a joke here and there to eventually he has to do what he must do and eventually in a sense himself grow up to be what he needs to be. And I'll probably explain a little bit more about his character a bit in season 3 because there's definitely a defining moment where he sees that he is valued within the main characters of the show. So, in a sense, what made the show very different from anything else is there wasn't just one family that was lost in space. There were multiple families lost in space, which you learned that, I want to say, somewhat in Season 1 and then also mainly in Season 2, in which to me, Season 2 was probably the weakest of the 3 seasons. And it was, I don't know. It was interesting. And also, character development was one of the things that brought this show to me down, or basically gave me mixed feelings about this show. Like, especially with some of the main characters, like Judy and Will definitely had probably the most character development of the main cast. Penny and then also the Robinson parents also probably had a little bit less, and they try to salvage what they could with that. Dr. Smith, like I said earlier, probably besides Judy and Will's characters, story arcs, Dr. Smith was actually a really good character arc, and I'll explain more later on as we talk about it. But, that's pretty much all I can really say about it. Like I said, I had mixed feelings with the show, which is going to be more in the spoiler parts where I'll talk about it. And the concept and the idea was really cool, but the character development and also a little bit of the writing and also certain parts of the main story kind of, for me, fell through. And those are going to be more of the spoiler part. So, anywho, this is your warning. This is now the spoiler part of this video. So, if you have not watched Lost in Space, do not listen to this part. Pause it right now where it's going to be at 8 minutes. Pause it right now. Watch it. You can binge it within like 2 to 3 days possibly. Or if you got nothing to do and just want to sit around and watch a TV show, you can binge. Just do it. Seriously. But yeah, this is your spoiler. This is it. This is your warning. This is it! So, welcome to the spoiler part of Lost in Space. So, we're going to talk more about the character development, certain story parts of the show, and then also things I think they felt pretty flat for me, especially with certain parts of the story. So, anywho, the robot, which, in the original show and also I think in the 90s was always a robot built by man that always, helped out Will Robinson. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. But the twist of that is the robot is an alien-made robot, and I thought that was one of the coolest things they did in this show, at least for the relationship between Will and the robot. I think that was probably the main focus of that, and I think they did hit that off pretty well with, Will trusting the robot, and then later on, robot trusting Will. And I thought that was really cool. And also another thing pretty cool is Dr. Smith, which I want to say, definitely in the original series was a male character, or a male actor playing that character. And in the movie, I think it was also another male actor that played that character. This one happens to be a female character. And it's not actually the real Dr. Smith. She's basically, I want to say, the sister of the real Dr. Smith that she knocks out, takes out her biochip, which was the only thing that can say, like, hey, I have access to the ship and I can go on to travel to Alpha Centauri. And, yeah, she's a con artist. But what was really cool about her story, which, like I said, we'll touch base with Will and Judy's story later on in this episode, is that she's a character that had basically made all the wrong decisions, been with the wrong people, always did the wrong actions, and what she wants to do is she wants to get away. And she feels this is her way to get away and basically get away from people, which I can kind of relate because, people can suck, especially if you're in the wrong crowd. And her entire story was kind of cool because it went from her on her way in to basically going into a survival-ish mode where she had to work with Robinsons in certain situations to do these things. And she grew from basically being a con artist, a survivalist, to eventually, I can make these right decisions, in a sense. And her story was kind of cool. Like I said, she probably had one of the best story arcs. Will's story arc was really cool, too, because his relationship with the robot and also the whole dynamic of robot being an alien robot, not a man-made robot. And the story itself was really cool, from Will trying to trust this robot, trying to figure out who the robot is, but at the same time, Robot was doing the same thing too, and they formed this trust with each other, and it was kind of cool. And eventually, season 3, Will does go in a bit like more of his, discovery, or discovery self, but also at the same time, there's been darker moments, and certain things does happen to him which still led him to still trust robots. So that was really cool. Judy was also a very interesting twist also of her character. So Judy is basically always, I want to say, the eldest daughter, if I remember correctly, but she's also not the biological sister of Penny and Will. And she's actually from somebody else. So she was like basically an adopted daughter, or they happened to pick her up, in which later on you found out Maureen Robinson was with someone, and they didn't really define, if I remember correctly, if she was adopted or that was, her kid, in fact. So I'm not 100% sure. But no, it was really cool. And basically, yeah, she was basically, for her character, she's the best of the Robinsons, and she was probably the second or third best story arc character of the main cast. And you see that more in season 3, where you see how much pressure she has, because she's basically, you're my daughter, you're the best. And you see that happening, and it's like, no. Yes, you are technically the best, but you're still my daughter, and you can, if stuff fails, it happens, but you can still figure it out. And you see that happen, and it's kind of cool. And then later on, she finds her biological father, which her father didn't know she was alive. And that was kind of cool, semi-aspect and stuff. And, I want definitely say probably the weakest was Penny. Penny, I was kind of, I don't know, it was weird. Like I said, not 100% into the whole franchise of Lost in Space, but the way they did Penny was weird. Like, she was just there, some comic relief here and there, but really nothing too much crazy. She didn't get much character development or growth up until, the last 3 episodes of season 3, where you finally get that. And there were some strong moments for her, but I felt like the writers did it too late for her. And then also, the thing is, there were other families in which they introduced them, and they could have done a little bit more, which could have done a bit more growth on certain characters, but I feel like that was definitely a missed opportunity. Another thing, too, was the robots. So you eventually find out what the robots are, or at least where robot comes from, and they meet, like, 1 or 2 others, and then later on there's all of a sudden 100 of them. But the thing is, the main enemy was one robot called Sar, and he was just pretty much treated as like, this is the main bad guy of the show, in which I feel like how season 1 was doing, you don't need a main bad guy for the show, because the show should be a fun family adventure where they can figure out certain problems and stuff like that. putting in a main bad guy, especially one with like the traditional robot thing where they're like the Cylons or the Terminators or the Geth from Mass Effect, where organics or humans have been, our masters, and now we have to rise up and fight them. And that's, to me, that's kind of that's very cliche. It's very boring to me. I'm like, give them another aspect, which they kind of did later on, because in season 3, once the Robinsons finally reach Alpha Centauri and the planet will eventually get attacked by the robots, and the robots kind of like did like a crash landing, blow up their ship, and the kids of the other families of the Jupiters, help them out, and yeah, they basically become like, how Robot is to Will Robinson, and that's a cool thing, but at the same time, it still falls flat because the only thing you recognize, which it basically SAR is a one-dimensional villain, and I hate one-dimensional villains. Singular goal, nothing else. To me, it's boring. And it is what it is, but, yeah. So, anywho, that is going to be episode 3 of the Geek Coast channel. I hope you all enjoy it. I hope you put in that like button. I hope you commented on it. And, hey, share it to your friends, your family, your robot overlord, or your robot friend, or, just share it randomly on the internet. Help this channel out if you can, guys. It would mean a lot to me, and also, I would like to keep doing this. Anywho, I hope you all stay geeky, and I hope you all stay great.